Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller podcast, your weekly gaming podcast. Episode 8, The History of the Sega Dreamcast. With me, George, and as always joined by my co-host Tom. VMU to my Rod Hull and Emu. How's it going?
Mind that roof.
Yeah,
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Obviously, probably from the acoustics you guys can realise we're still in medbay. I'm still confined.
Yeah, he's still injured.
To my bed. Tom's been having a whale of a time upstairs with Mumsy, picnics, the whole bag of tricks.
Overwatch on 24/7.
And I'm stuck here. You won't bring any consoles down for me, so I've been...
Portables only for you.
Underneath that box of medical bandages, I found myself a copy of Tomb Raider Anniversary for the PSP.
And that's what you've been playing this week?
Can you believe, a modern gaming news show, and I'm going to tell you about what it was like to play Tomb Raider Anniversary / Legend on the PSP. We've reached new heights. Actually, Legend isn't very good. Anniversary
is excellent.
On the PSP as well.
I've not played it on that.
It's one of the best. I'm going out here on an absolute limb. Might be one of the best PSP games I've played. Just fits. It feels right.
You've been watching any UMD movies?
Well, you might like this. Actually. A quick segue. A while ago, I picked up a copy of The Extras on UMD, full Series 1. So
Ian.
Don't forget Super Army Soldiers.
Ross Kemp is just brilliant in that, isn't he?
So I've got that to look forward to.
Super Army Soldiers.
What else have I been up to? Been playing a little bit more Final Fantasy on the Vita, but I haven't got a charger nearby for that, and you obviously won't oblige. So I'm breathing life into the PSP's charger through static electricity to keep me going. And while I've been down here musing on the sorrows, which is the broken foot scenario off the back of your misplaced toys, what you been playing?
I have been playing upstairs Days Gone on a big HD TV screen, just to rub it in a bit. I've got a bit further on that.
Finished it yet?
No, I must be near the end. Again, like we discussed last week, really hard to tell where you are with the percentages sometimes, but I think going on where the story's gone, I must be. And I'm in a different area as well.
Ooh. So is that map enlarged? Does it give faith to the new arrivals who've just picked the game up, for instance?
Yeah, it does get bigger. But it also locks off that first area for a time.
Oh,
whether I'll be able to go, I'm sure I'll be able to go back there.
I think so, because if you're gonna free roam to finish off some of the checkpoints,
exactly. There's side missions and stuff to mop up. But again, just an enjoyable game. Also been playing my new game plus on God of War some more. Always outstanding by that game. Started watching the documentary about it on YouTube.
Okay.
Raising Kratos, which is worth a look if any listeners want to check that out.
For those that don't know about that, why don't you just fill us in? Because that was an anniversary of the game and celebration.
It was, yeah. So it's I think it's about an hour and a half documentary, just from the start of the game to the finish, really. And really in depth. I enjoyed it. Yeah,
and with its in depth, does it ever sort of touch on that sort of final rushed panic where the game probably wasn't most functional, or do they kind of brush over that? And
it does a little bit. Yeah,
that's very cool to be that open.
It was good to see the E3 reveal again. Touching on E3 quickly, we are going to have an E3 preview coming up, which will be in the next couple of weeks, where we're going to be discussing what we hope to see, what's confirmed to be there, what's rumoured to be there, and various other things to do with the show.
Nice.
I think that's about it for what I've been playing this week.
Okay.
I've been trying to tempt you when you're able to scramble back up the stairs to explore the Wild West again in Red Dead Redemption Online.
We either need a new, longer extension cable.
Yeah.
We need to maybe ask Mumsy for an Ethernet cable. We can maybe get something going on. You know, we can't get Wi-Fi down here.
So Red Dead Online's just come out of beta, and it looks like it's had a fairly decent update.
Okay.
There's like a bank robbery mission and some missions for Sadie Adler, who, if you play the game, you'll know is one of the sort of supporting characters, a favourite among many.
So like that multi-limbed creature in the Fellowship of the Ring that grabs around the pony's legs, much like that, you are combined with Red Dead Redemption 2, creeping up out of the lake and wrapping around the little pony, which is me, and dragging me into the dark depths of online gaming.
Yes.
Never going to happen. It might. It might.
It will, listeners. It will.
We've been there, haven't we? And I kind of got upset by it. But I'm willing to revisit if it can be our...
We don't like griefers, do we, in online games?
No griefers here.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, we must wonder to ourselves. We've scoured, as always, the very darkest regions of the darkest corners of the dark web to bring you the latest stories. First up, we're friends. No, hang on. Are we? Tom, news in. Now, this comes off the back of the news that Microsoft and Sony had struck a deal based around using their Azure cloud solution. Great, we all thought. Nice joined-up approach and very friendly. Except no one told PlayStation. In a report from Bloomberg, it is stated that talks between two businesses started last year in Tokyo. Although these meetings were kept under wraps, staff at the gaming division were caught off guard by the news. Managers had to calm workers and assure them that plans for the company's next-generation console weren't affected. And it's baffling to think that PlayStation hierarchy didn't actually know. But interesting times indeed, Tom. First little news story there. What's your take on that?
That is bizarre, isn't it? To not involve them.
For them to not know. I mean, you're well on with your
plans. It's very
plans.
smoke and mirrors, isn't it?
You're well on with your plans for your new console that's going to have some sort of streaming capability in it.
Yeah.
You'd think they would be sort of 90% complete on that solution, then all of a sudden there's a knock on the door. Oh, Mr. Yoshida, what are you doing here? You brought Mr. Gates, so what's going on? Oh, your best friends were meant to be implementing this in the new console. I'd never... Okay,
Yeah.
It's a bit strange, but...
It is.
Probably, from a technical standpoint, it's probably a good solution.
So are they trying to work on something that they can both utilise on their next-gen consoles?
I think
like a streaming
Microsoft's already got
service?
this Azure platform up and running. And I think
Okay.
they utilise it themselves. In fact, I'm pretty sure they do.
Right.
It's what I've read. Factozoid.
So it's definitely not like a collaboration we saw with Microsoft and Nintendo with Cuphead and probably...
No, this is more of like
rumoured
a...
other games to be coming to the
This
Switch.
is more like a higher
technical...
technical solution to a problem they must have sort of, discovered.
Yeah.
PlayStation now, it's there or thereabouts, but I've seen some issues with especially PlayStation 3 games.
Well, a friend of mine had the PlayStation Now, and he said it was nearly unplayable. He tried Red Dead Redemption 1.
Yeah.
And obviously he was playing it single player, but it's streaming, and he said it was like watching a pixelated video on YouTube.
Ooh.
So I think we're still in that realm of you've got to have a good connection.
Well, I also
broadband
think
connection
that
to stream.
This Azure cloud is the solution.
Yeah.
There was no point if you just think about it for a minute. You're Sony. You're not a program. You're not known for being a programming company. All right, you do programming, you make video games, and that's all well and good. But normally, 9 times out of 10, you're a hardware manufacturer. Microsoft produce software solutions. Why not just? I tell you what. Let's go down the PC world for Sony. You're walking down the thing. Microsoft's brand new $9.99 Azure cloud solution. Oh, I'll put that in the basket. Off we go. You get home, you plug it in. Job sorted.
Yeah.
And what with the PlayStation becoming a bit more PC-based, laptop in a box, as these things have been coined these days, or power gaming laptops in boxes.
Yeah.
Just perfect. Plug and play. Let it run in the background.
Yes, agreed. It'd be nice to see that become a natural solution and make streaming.
It does make
a
you
lot
wonder
more,
what the
usable for everyone.
I wonder what the reserve plan was. Before they rocked up and said this is what's happening, I wonder what was going down at Sony HQ. What was their solution before the boss rolled up and said, there you go, I fixed it for you?
Yeah.
I've thrown some money at that, it's done. Like, what were they doing? Like string? Lollipops of semaphore? Tom, your wheelhouse, Nintendo news.
Yeah.
Get up on the podium. Here's the megaphone.
Up on the podium. Super Mario Maker tells us more. Last week, Nintendo held one of their Nintendo Direct events based around the up-and-coming new Mario Maker 2. We picked out a few interesting bits for you. So some of the tools and themes...
Let's just let the fans know. Pull up a chair, because Tom's going to feature dump on you.
Oh, yeah. Like the first game, you build your stage from the ground up with level palettes, foes, and items from various Mario games. You can modify foes to make them bigger and hide them in blocks. New tools include slopes, which was really requested from the first game, so good to see they've addressed that. The Angry Sun enemy, snake blocks, on-off switch for blocks, seesaws that tilt under the player's weight, swinging claws Mario can use to swing through levels, it's so he can swing through some of the water and lava levels, and custom scrolling for side-scrolling levels. Dry bone shells, bullet bills, and new sound effects. New course themes include desert, snow, forest, sky, and day and night, the latter featuring new renditions of classic Mario themes. All themes have modifiers that affect the stage at night, like the ground on the snow theme causing Mario to slip around, while the desert theme has a sandstorm that blows Mario back.
That's a cool feature.
Yeah, I did see that in the video footage and was really impressed
Out of
with
everything that you've said so far, that's the one that made me go, oh,
yeah,
that's clever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Days Gone snow building up on Mario as he runs through the level for sure, but
the fact that you're building these levels yourself,
exactly, and from
really impressive.
From a fan creation point of view, there's going to be lots of really cool ways to utilise that. That's not necessarily snow.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling what people are going to be able to create, and I went from like maybe picking this up to I think I'll actually get it, because, like I've said before, I'm not that creative on these sorts of games.
If this was out this week, would you throw down a mummy on it?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
So I'm going to save my pennies for that.
Okay.
Or I could rob yours while you're down in the med bay.
Can't get access to anything.
Yep.
I'm surprised. I'm probably thinking when I finally get out of the med bay, I'm going to go upstairs and my clothes are going to be sold. Or my presents, Christmas presents, my Jar Jar plush. No, you'll have kept that. Bitter, salty man that you are.
Moving back to Mario Maker, you can set some clear conditions for each level, such as a player obtaining a certain object or amount of coins. Mario Maker 2 includes classic game styles. It also has a new style based on Mario 3D World. So you can create 3D stages with unique objects, actions, and characters like Cat Mario. So I just want to clarify that it's not like a 3D perspective as such, like a 3D open world Mario.
It's
I mean,
the isometric
that's the stuff
style
of dreams, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's the isometric style we saw in the last Switch or Wii game.
Yeah,
Wii
and
U
in
game.
Sort of the new Super Mario Brothers games as well. There's also multiplayer and course world. You'll need a Nintendo Switch Online membership to upload, share, and play others' courses via Course World. So that's quite a good reason to own Switch Online, which sometimes I dabble in, and I don't have a 12-month subscription for it. I just tend to get it when I need it. So you need their
equivalent of Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus to upload these courses or download these courses?
That is correct. You can browse them by theme, difficulty, recency, or genre, and also most popular. So it's good that they've got those filters on there, so you can really sort of look for what you really want to play. In Course World, you can do an endurance run of randomly selected stages and try and get the bragging rights in endless challenge mode. Also, network multiplayer options let you play stages competitively or co-op with other players. In both modes, your mission is to get through the course. The Versus mode includes a ranking system as well. You and a friend can make levels together with other people using the co-op function, which would be quite interesting to try. I think that's a good, like, family type game to try and get your children involved in making in level building.
Even more so, I see some usability in that, with the fact that I wonder if you go onto your version of it, your friend in America goes onto his version of it, so we're across the world designing a level together on Mario Maker 2.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. It's a really impressive feature when I watch the Direct.
Definitely.
And there's also a local multiplayer option for up to 4 people.
So you've boiled down in that little chat these little nuggets of information that we're finding out about Mario Maker 2. You've also alluded to the fact that you want to pop a ring on its finger and walk it down the aisle. Or are thinking about asking its father for the opportunity to ask for its hand in marriage. Anything else? Are you giddy for this, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you giddy for this, Tom? Let's go full panto.
I am giddy.
I can't hear you, Tom.
Yes, I am giddy. I'm excited for this game. It's been a bit quiet for me on the Switch. I picked up a few...
Red Dead Redemption 3 gets announced it's coming out on the same day as Mario Maker 2.
Yes,
Which is your mummy?
I think that would be Red Dead 3,
So in the right environment, Mario Maker 2 is your dream date?
Yeah.
And
it's as close as you can get on the Switch this June.
Based on the upcoming release window, you think she's your gal?
Yeah.
And you recommend it? You can't see a reason why not to recommend that?
No, there's no reason why I wouldn't recommend that. If you're not a fan of the 2D Marios, you're not going to find that much here you like, but you might have a creative side and you think, oh, I can make my own
So
levels.
all being well,
yes,
you're going to make Mario Maker 2 your forever date. Mm-hmm. But if it doesn't work out, it's going to be your ex.
It will.
Last bit of news for the Xbox, Tom.
Oh, seamless. Smooth operator.
Who have now Xbox gone and grabbed themselves a backward compatibility sale. They've got that going on at the moment. The program which allows some original Xbox and Xbox 360 games to run on Xbox One is one of the platform's best USPs. The library has over 500 games currently available and new ones added regularly. Some even get the Xbox One enhanced Stingray Blu-ray treatment, further optimising the game for the most powerful console on the market. The backwards compatible sale runs through March 27th, so you've got 1 week to revisit old favourites or finally catch up on a classic you missed at a deeply discounted price. We've just rustled together from that 500 list here.
Sorry, that's a correction. That was May 27th.
What did I say?
You said March. The Ides of March.
I sit down here, I've got no...
You've lost all...
I don't even know what time it is.
You don't even know what realm you're in, I don't think.
No, I that's a very solid point, well made.
Yeah.
No idea where I am. It's the meds.
So what games are in that?
Well, we've combined a little harem of the finest titles that we can see in that 500 strong list. Street Fighter 4, $9.99.
I spent a lot of time on that game.
Good game.
Excellent.
Catherine,
Excellent
$9.99. Great game. Need to pick it up. Halo Reach, $9.99.
Yeah.
Again, very generous. Red Dead Redemption 1, the sequel to the prequel to the sequel.
Yes.
$9.89. Assassin's Creed. Now,
is that Assassin's Creed 1?
Yes, it is. That's actually probably my favourite Assassin's Creed.
Is it?
Yeah, just the way it starts, the setting. I remember all the sales literature on the build up to it and the magazines.
I just never like those bits where you go and play as, is it Desmond or whatever in the film?
An unnecessary compromise.
Yeah, it just takes you right out of the historical setting that you're in. But I'm sure other people might like it.
What else did you have a little dip? This is a little bit like an early Stingrays boot, isn't it?
It's
gone mental.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's a tabletop sale down at the local Xbox charity run.
Far Cry 3. $7.99. BioShock $7.99.
Now that,
great game.
Come on, that has to get picked up. And if it's got the Stingray Blu-ray enhancement treatment, the director's Stingray cut, that's going to look great on the Xbox One X.
It was impressive back in the day, wasn't it?
Agreed.
Graphically and gameplay.
Yeah.
We've got Borderlands 2. If you fancy picking that up before the inevitable Borderlands 3, which comes out
get on
summer.
Get on the hype train.
Super Meat Boy. Gears of War.
Come on. That if you haven't got that, you need that.
Yeah.
Come on.
How can you not have an Xbox?
My favourite Grand Theft Auto 4 on the list.
Roman, want to go bowling?
Sure.
Mass Effect 2.
I'm busy.
Always busy.
I'm always busy.
Mass Effect 2, probably the best of the trilogy.
We've talked about that numerous times on the show. Dragon Age Origins, just to back up the Mass Effect 5 going on there. Rayman Origins, and the original Just Cause.
At 99p.
Or 99 cents for our Australian or American cousins who are dealing with the dollar. I'm sure roundabout flick a coin, exchange rate. It's there or thereabouts.
That's as close as we could get them.
So, did we miss anything? Well, let's just talk about that, Tom. Anything in there you would pick up?
Skull and Bones has been delayed.
Wait, you've
Ubisoft...
done it again. You've been handed a gun. You've looked down the barrel, you've shot. Is there anything on there that particularly excites you that you would pick up and pick out?
Oh, sorry. For the Xbox sale.
You get so carried away. For the Xbox sale, Before we launch into the Skull and Bones news that shocked all naval gurus to their very foundations, it's rocked them. Much like a Sea State 9 rocks a great big aircraft carrier, the Skull and Bones news rocked Tom's very equilibrium this morning when it dropped on the green screen. Before we launch into the funeral march, which is Skull and Bones, Tom, anything on there that you want to pull out as being a recommend?
I would go for Mass Effect 2, Street Fighter 4 for a sort of local multiplayer experience. And yeah, let's go bowling with Roman and have Grand Theft Auto 4 as well.
Okay. Well, I would also recommend on that list, if they haven't tried it, Catherine's a fantastic title. It's a bit out there. It's a bit Japanese,
anime,
as we call it. It's anime. Yeah, that's right. It's a very strange game about a guy who cheats on his girlfriend or his wife or his fiancée called Catherine with another woman called Catherine with K. I can't remember which way round it is now. But either which way, you kind of live in his fever dreams as this all runs amok through his life and the guilt takes over. And yeah, very interesting. Out of all those games that we've talked about, it's probably the most left field, but from a simple puzzle game interactivity level to the story of it, it's one they've got to look out. Now, Tom, seems that your sadness got the better of you. You ran across the gangplank before it was even down on the shore. Tell us about Skull and Bones.
So Skull and Bones, a game me and you were looking forward to, has been delayed back to after 2019, maybe end of 2020.
Is that how it was in the company's fiscal report?
Yes. Highly accurate. So yeah, we're gonna I don't know, end of 2019, end of 2020 maybe.
Just so the accountants
like a whole year
know.
difference. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be at E3, which is a bit disappointing.
Any reasoning given for that slippage? When you got on the green screen and you checked their Blackberries behind the scenes,
I think they did probably want to give it a bit of extra polish. Maybe something's not working on it. Maybe it would launch on next gen.
So it's not the fact that
with it being a new IP, they could probably launch it on next gen without worrying about that install base of, let's say it's a sequel. I guess it is you could say it's sort of a sequel to Black Flag, but it's not. It's got the same mechanics, I guess, with the naval combat, which we both thought was really good.
It's loosely similar mechanics, but it's actually much more advanced.
I think there's a lot more they've added to it. So that's a shame, but hopefully we'll hear more on that end of this year.
A burial at sea.
Shot down with a cannon.
Well, on that note, Tom seems to have rounded out the barrel of the news. We can start to turn down the green screen. But before we do, Tom, did we miss anything? Do you have an opinion or take on the news, the fans out there, that we may have missed? If they did, and let's hope that all Mumsy's money on voodoo magic while you're asleep has paid off, how will the collected masses get in contact with us?
They can reach us at questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com.
The amount of goat's blood that was sacrificed across him in his sleep for that. If there's no cheese in the deli this morning, you know the reason why. Tell them about the social media hookups, Tom.
We've got Instagram account, which you can direct messages on, and also Twitter, where you can reach us as well.
And tell us.
We also have just put the pilot episode onto YouTube.
Cost us a king's ransom to Stingray, but seemingly he knows a guy down at the chip shop.
Whose uncle works at YouTube.
Whose uncle owns a 486 PC, and he can upload for us.
Excellent. He's got a solid dial-up connection as well.
He has, and he's used paint to decorate them. So there's going to be a rolling slideshow for the fans who choose to watch our logo rotate instead of listening to us in their earphones. They want to watch and listen at the same time.
So yeah, we're hoping to reach more listeners on YouTube and get the podcast out there.
Okay, so, Tom. Well,
moving on.
We've chewed through that first bit of the podcast. Sometimes a little abrasive. What you've been eating? Well, what's that? Hang on a little bit of a minute. There's the succulent centre of that just gently glide down my throat like a locket, which is the news. Then after the news, we stumble blindly, and sometimes incoherently, into the week's feature. Tom, this week we're going to talk about the Sega Dreamcast. A discussion around the Dreamcast. As always, you guys got in touch to share those treasured memories of Sega's final fatal fling in the console fight. And we're including those to add a real personal touch to this story. So, Tom, grab hold of the back of the wheelchair, my friend, and push forward. As Tom wheels me down another level to... I'll tell you what, I shouldn't have had that extra pucker pie yesterday. I can sweep...
I'm struggling.
The perspiration on your head is dripping down onto me like an Amazonian rainforest. And we head down another level to where we find Stingray's ex-girlfriend's car that he has parked here since they split up after she had been seen with the barman after hours down at the Wagon and Horses.
Dirty dog.
Well, we don't want to get into that, Tom.
No.
And look at her now as we round the corner. Look at her in all her resplendent metallic burgundy glory. And look at those neon green racing stripes. Question, Tom. Do these stripes actually help this vehicle go any faster?
Much faster.
Okay. Amongst these modifications, there's also some time travel circuits. So, let's take a seat in the back of the Maestro Turbo, take a sip on the out-of-date McDonald's Coke on the floor. Tom, hit the blast process button and let's go.
What's blast processing?
So what's blast processing do?
This is the day you have trained for, the day you have studied for. Utilize your superior skills, your superior intelligence.
Sit down, rodent.
Oh, dear. Sarah, baby. Oh, you were one.
Don't make me hurt you.
Learn to defeat your ruthless enemy, Steve.
Whoa! And that is what time travel feels like. So, Tom, here we are, nestled in the Dreamcast feature. We've blown the budget clean out. We've literally poured enough leaded fuel in the Maestro to propel us back in time through the medium of blast processing. It's 9/9/99. We're pre-millennium, baby. We're in America. The console's been out in Japan since 27th of November 1998, and it's just around the corner, due out in Europe on October the 14th, 1999. The hype, the tension, Tom, is palpable.
Yeah, let's quickly touch on how the Dreamcast came to be. To do this, let's have a quick look at what came before it. The Sega Saturn, hostage to some great games it was ultimately too difficult to program for, it's retrospectively earned a well-deserved accolade of handling 2D sprites with real finesse, and most of these games look best at home on the Saturn. But using time travel, we get here and taste for anything 2D is gone. No one wants to know anymore, and it's flocking to the polygons, and the mighty original PlayStation became that king.
We're here in this moment, and I remember this moment very, very, very vividly. And the fans, they can't time travel because they haven't got access to a metallic burgundy MG Maestro Turbo. They don't forget
the turbo.
Yeah, so we've got them here. Now, at the time, we were going through the end of the SNES, and we were looking for that full transition to 3D. We didn't want anything 2D. We were firmly embedded in this sort of 3D world.
Yeah, everyone had either picked up a PlayStation or N64.
And the problem with that is I had an N64 at the time, and I'd bought every game that I was feasibly ever going to be into, all the Nintendo stuff, the Star Wars games, GoldenEye, Jet Force, anything you can imagine I had it. But it didn't quite have that sort of mature hook. And I knew at the time, even though the N64 looked good for its time, there was something lacking in the graphical department. Something wasn't right. And I also looked over at my PlayStation friends and thought, they've got such a great mix of games. It's very much, there was so much you could get any kind of game you wanted on PlayStation 1. You couldn't on N64. And then just popping its head over the hill there, Tom, the mighty Dreamcast rocked up.
Yeah.
So, after the debacle that was the Sega Saturn, it wasn't really looking that good, was it? So, what's Sega to do? It was time to right the ship, Tom, win back some of the faith that they'd lost through the badly navigated, in the case of the Mega CD, a totally underutilised add-on. The disaster that was the Saturn, whose botched launch cost it long-term support from the likes of EA. Now, we've got to look back at that, Tom. That hurt the Saturn hard.
Yeah,
It went
that's
from
been
having-
seen in several other consoles, hasn't it? Not having that big third-party publisher support.
And love them or hate them, FIFA sells consoles, unfortunately.
Yeah, they've got some big games, haven't they? So that's always going to be one you're going to want on board. So, yeah. They vowed to never work with Sega again. That's some bold words.
Well, that's ultimately what led to the Sega Sports Series and the birth of the 2K franchise, because Sega was... as always,
I see.
when they couldn't get Fatal Fury, they went
Yeah.
back and they developed their own version, Streets of Rage. When EA said, we're not sharing Madden, we're not sharing FIFA, we're not sharing any of these great NASCAR, IndyCar games that we chuck around like confetti at a wedding, you're not having any of those anymore, Sega. Sega, what did they do? They went backstage, brushed off the clickety-clackety keyboard, paid some work experience boy to rustle up a game, and as always, Sega rustled up something really special, and they came out fine with their own sports division. Now, those games were great, and they spawned a really great franchise, but you've got to imagine from an early adopter's point of view, we're throwing caution to the wind, Tom. We're picking up the Dreamcast regardless, but let's say you're sat on the fence, and you're not sure. I knew people at the time that they were needing the security of those big titles.
Yeah.
And that hurt the Saturn as much as it hurt the Dreamcast.
Yeah, I think you still probably had people playing original PlayStation 1 when the Dreamcast was out.
Yeah,
because of
definitely.
those reasons. Because they were just not willing to jump on board with that. So, moving on, it's here Sega lay licking the wounds that started to experiment. This device needed to be easy to program and port for, and much like in today's news, an alliance was formed with Microsoft to develop a version of Windows specifically for the up-and-coming new box.
Now, they developed this Windows CE, as it's emblazoned across the front of all those white or black, depending if you've got the sports model in America. Windows CE. Now, I wrongly assumed, before doing research for this said feature, before jumping in the Maestro and hitting the blast process button.
You went without me.
No, before today, I had assumed I wouldn't ever time travel without you. What if I got lost?
Well, yeah.
I've got a broken
and
foot.
You are full Brandon Stark in that wheelchair.
I am the holder of all knowledge, past, present, and future.
The three-eyed raven.
I am the three-eyed raven of software, and
Yes.
seemingly in this case hardware. Back on topic, as we have strayed so far from, like Frodo in the marshes. Luckily, Tom, like Smeagol, leapt forward to save me from myself. We revert back to the Windows CE conversation. And blazoned on the front of all those white Dreamcast or black Dreamcast boxes were the words Windows CE. Now, Microsoft devised a special version of Windows that would run on there to enable PC games to be easily ported. Guess what? Even with that easy programming skill there, it was so easy to program for, most of them didn't even boot in Windows. They just booted straight to the AM2 drive. So that Dreamcast was punchy. We got a lot of cool PC ports that we wouldn't have probably had on the PlayStation 1, although, I'm citing Hidden and Dangerous. I think they've got a PlayStation port, but it looked great on Dreamcast. And I think that certainly, if they didn't use the Windows CE technology, it certainly helped the developers realise that the console was easy to develop for. We talk about EA running a country mile, but we got a Resident Evil port on there and support, didn't we?
Capcom.
Yeah. Came in with some great games, Power Stone 1 and 2.
So, Code Veronica, was that an exclusive on the Dreamcast?
At the time. Since it received a PS2 port.
It has, yes.
But at the time, it was an absolute exclusive. Now, the rumour why it's called Code Veronica X, to bore the living daylights out of you, is because apparently they'd signed an exclusivity deal with PlayStation on the numbered iterations of Resident Evil.
Oh, right, so they had to ditch that.
A la Code Veronica could become a spin-off that could be put on the Dreamcast. And it was also meant to be...
Nice little fact there.
Little factoid. And it was also, I do believe, meant to actually be the real Resident Evil 3. And if you dig out there amongst the fans, they will actually say that they view Resident Evil Code Veronica as 3.
Yeah.
And 3/Nemesis was a halfway house that was just thrown on the console at the last minute. I'm not saying it's not a good game, but out of the trilogy on PS1, I think 3's probably the weaker.
It is rumoured to be getting a remake similar to 2. So
I tell you what,
that would look pretty impressive.
it would, and I tell you what, the Nemesis would be pretty terrifying in that, because what's his name in 2?
The Tyrant.
Yeah, he just kind of walks towards you in that way. It's
Super scary.
pretty freaky, and it's that slow.
Having not played that as well before, that was really creepy the first time he appears.
Very cool.
But moving on to the history.
Well, what did they codename the console, Tom?
It was called codenamed Katana.
after the Japanese sword.
Yeah. Things began to gather at Sega Towers. Like previous Sega consoles, the Dreamcast was designed around intelligent subsystems working in parallel with one another. But the selections of hardware were more in line with what was common in personal computers than video games consoles, reducing the system's cost. So that's quite a good idea.
From the get-go.
I never remember it being very expensive. Like, if we compare it to sort of, I don't know, the PS3.
Oh, exactly. I think the Dreamcast always had a reasonable reception. It was just getting what they call in the industry bums on seats. It's all well and good saying, oh, that Dreamcast is cool, but then they needed someone to put money down and take it home. And that was all part of trying to keep that price down. That's another reason why it didn't receive a Blu-ray drive, because they were desperate to keep the price down.
Yeah.
Also, Sony owned Blu-ray DVD technologies. Are you going to give them 10% of every console you sell? That's probably counterproductive.
Do you think that lack of DVD playback damaged them a bit in the wake of the PS2 afterwards?
I think a little. I think before the PlayStation 2 was out, no one... Blu-ray... I keep calling it Blu-ray. DVD was out, okay, and it was on the fringes of audio-visual.
Yeah.
And it was, get a DVD player. And everyone's heard the factoid that, PlayStation cornered the market because they stuck a DVD drive in there and it was a real cheap way of getting one. It wasn't even in the conversation.
I remember getting the PS2 with Gladiator on DVD. And
I remember you getting that and being like,
just, it was like having the NHS jam jar specs taken off and just going, wow, that's pretty clear.
And it was. And I think that if you, as always with these in the console market, if you can weaponise your opponent's lack of communication, i.e., well, they haven't got a DVD drive. If you can weaponise that and use it as a reason to have your system over theirs, they do it every time. And they certainly weaponised that DVD player. I mean, when I got the Dreamcast, I have to admit, never even crossed my mind to have a DVD player. And then 6 months into it was just the Dreamcast came out in an era where DVD wasn't even a question.
Yeah.
But by the time it came out, DVD was a question, and PlayStation had a solution. It was in their benefit.
I think it definitely probably was against them not having it after the PS2 launch.
Shall we just segue off here and talk about when and how you pick the console up? Should we take a sweet cherry little walk through the rose-tinted spectacles?
We'll just sort of do a bit of personal history on the console.
Yeah, so Tom, in the top 10 episode, I think we've danced around you getting your one second-hand from GameStop. You part of the problem. I call it GameStop. I think it was Game Station.
Yeah.
So our American cousins know what we're talking about. It's the equivalent of GameSpot, whatever you want to call it, over there in sunny US of A. And you picked up like a bundle, but it was a frightfully well-priced bundle, if you don't mind me saying.
Unbelievable price. For 20 of the English pounds, I got the Sega Dreamcast console, 2 controllers, a VMU memory unit, Virtual Tennis, Shenmue 1 boxed, Metropolis Street Racer, and a Rumble Pack. I mean, that is just crazy money.
I mean, you rolled out there. You rolled out that day like Yu Suzuki himself.
I did,
mean, you had everything.
So, I'd heard a lot of good things about it from you. You'd brought it round one day, actually, to demo it.
Talking about this, you've just sparked something off. Last episode, I said I'd never rented a game. That's not true.
What have you rented?
I did rent a game.
One
day I came round. It's not for Dreamcast. It's not that story. One day I came round to you with a copy of PlayStation 1.
Yes.
Copy of SmackDown 2. But in it, the bigger boy had snuck off to Blockbuster and got himself a copy of SmackDown Here Comes the Pain and swapped the discs. I have rented one game in my life. It's SmackDown Here Comes the Pain for you.
And you put the disc in, me none the wiser, thinking I was about to play SmackDown Know Your Role, or whatever one it was before that.
It was 2, actually. It was just SmackDown 2 on the PS1.
And lo and behold, it was SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. I literally jumped for joy. I was like, where did you get this from? Again, it was in those days of not knowing that much about what was coming out and what was on the shelves. So, yeah.
Only the Unofficial Controller podcast could sneak a PlayStation story slap bang right in the middle of the Dreamcast feature. It's heresy.
Let's get back to that.
That's how housekeeping
story.
done. I have rented a game. Let's get that in and out. Okay, let's park that and move on with our lives. I'm not so sheltered that I've never rented a game. I've rented a game once. So you've got this bag of goodies home for £20. I mean, were you holding a gun, Tom? To the counter at the time, or what?
You'd think so, wouldn't you, for that price?
You would.
Yeah, you'd sort of demoed the console to me and show me all the great... Because you had a great library of games at that point. Probably like 6 months to a year afterwards, I picked that up for that price. Unbelievable. Took it out into the summer house and set it up on like an old telly we had in there.
You see, for me, the best part of your Dreamcast memories are those sort of halcyon days of the sort of God rays coming in through the trees into the
wind
house.
chime while I'm playing Shenmue, trying to go full Japanese
it's
immersion
like Philips
into
Hue,
the game.
but, Ambilight, but it's the audio version. You've actually transported yourself into
Looking back now,
Garden.
if you went and sat and watched me playing that, you'd look at the screen and go, God, that's a terrible picture. But it's amazing to think how we thought it looked then.
Well, one thing I would say
are we
about
going to look
Dreamcast,
back at HD tellies and go, God, they look awful?
Well, I was going to say, one thing I would say about Dreamcast, out of all the consoles that came prior to it, and in some cases after it, because of the unique colour palette and the Sega Blue Skies theming that they put into most of their games, and the slightly cartoon and stylised graphics that they utilised in a lot of their titles, including Shenmue, I think they've aged really, really well. All the games have. Even the ones that should be sort of blocky polygon fests like Metropolis Street Racer. Very light on glitches, graphical imperfections. Everything felt really solid for the first time. There weren't flickering polygons. It looked great.
Yeah.
So
I think the arcade style, like the graphic style, really helps a lot of those games still stand up today. Like Crazy Taxi is very colourful.
Oh, God. First time I got that, it's like the second game I owned for Dreamcast. It's absolutely beautiful.
We are going to touch on the games shortly. So, that was basically my story of when I picked up the console, obviously a lot later on into when it was basically a cheap second-hand games device in the shop.
Shall I launch into my buying of the Dreamcast?
Yeah, let's hear.
So I remember the Millennium passing, 1999. Everyone thought they were going to die, and I think I woke up in January, and I looked down at the N64, and I think I've mentioned in earlier episodes, towards the end of the N64's life, and earlier in this episode, I was looking for a more...
I think the age you were and I were, the N64 was perfect for me, but you were looking for those more grown-up titles and just a new... Cool...
When I first got the N64, it was the bigger boys console.
Yes.
Towards the end of its life, it was not the bigger boys console anymore.
Hid in the drawers.
Exactly.
What's
that? Like,
you still playing 64?
No. So then I even had Shadow Man in a desperate attempt to find some more mature content to play. it's all right on the N64. It's not great. So I started to scratch my head. What's out there? What's out there? Suddenly the Dreamcast crops up, catches the corner of my eye, possibly Games Master magazine. All of a sudden, you know me, I was all in. I collected up the N64 and that massive library. I think now it's insane, and it used to happen every console generation.
It did, didn't it?
It?
Like you had probably like 20 games all box pristine, and you're like just shipping them off down to Game Station to receive the new console. With
like
one
Lucas
game.
with Star Wars, selling it off to the slavers at Disney. You round up your perfect little babies, you put them in the back of the omnibus, you drive them down to the slaver harbour, and you sell them all. And what did I get for my
what
mint?
did you get for your money?
So the console got traded boxed mint, vibration pack, expansion pack. I had loads of games, Donkey Kong 64. Every game that we've talked about in this one for the N64 I had. And they're all box complete. I used to take them out of the box and put them in my little carry case, and the box would just sit undisturbed in their mint condition.
Vacuum sealed.
And now I rang around seeing if I could get a deal going on, and I found a crazy guy in a market town which I'd never really even considered to go to before to get this Dreamcast. And I rocked up there with this great big crate, traded my life and soul and the past 10 years worth of hard-earned games, sold them all up the Swanee for a Dreamcast, a copy of Sonic Adventure, a VMU, and a demo disc.
Ooh.
Brutal.
It always happens.
And it does. New console day, especially back in the day, you'd probably come home with one game.
Yeah.
I was a young lad at the time. I think I was 21, maybe 20, 21.
Yeah.
I can't do the maths. I'm a writer, not a adder. I can't even write, seemingly. But anyway, got it home, plugged it in. From initially, there was a bit of disappointment, mainly through confusion, because I hadn't had a disc-based console for a while. But then, boom, the music hit. I was in the game.
That little start-up from the Dreamcast is cool, isn't it?
Yeah, everything. And then I was then sucked into the ecosystem. And I still...
Official Dreamcast magazine, the lot.
Well, I mean, we ought to talk about that. In my opinion, still to this day, the greatest games magazine ever written. From issue 0 through to when they ended, just that the tone was right for the time, still is now. The way it was laid out, it just felt so retro cool.
I think it probably made the Nintendo one feel very kiddie.
Well, the whole branding was on point for me. A lot of people moan about the European Dreamcast cases. Oh, they shatter when you look at them. Yeah, they maybe do. But when they were new, and when they're in mint condition now, that blue spine with the white writing, and the way that blue logo and thing carried on across the magazine, in the swoosh on the controllers and on the console itself, in the logo start-up screen. And one thing you need to remember about the Dreamcast and the games, the word Sega barely features on it at all. They were actually panicked that bad feeling from the Saturn and the Mega Drive Genesis add-ons would cause people to shun the product. So they labelled it Dreamcast.
I think that's wise.
In very small letters, Sega.
Because you look at the Wii and the Wii U, they were pretty smart to ditch that. I know it's their company name, but...
I know, but imagine if it wasn't the Nintendo Switch, it was the Switch. And they were trying to make out that it was this new thing. They weren't trying to make it out, but they were certainly playing down the Sega historicals. So I got that back, watched the demo disc. There was a rolling demo of Metropolis Street Racer. That looked incredible. I was hooked. Yeah. And like I say, the music on the Mayan Ruin level of Sonic 2, Sonic 1, sorry, it's like the second level. God, I mean, I can't get enough of it. I'll take it with me.
There's something about it as well. I remember getting the demo disc, or the demo, little T-Rex demo on the PlayStation original.
Yeah.
They should do more stuff like that. Get your hype, like, this
we
is
don't
what's
get it
coming.
anymore, do we?
This is graphically what the machine's going to be capable of in like 6 months' time. These are the games you're going to see.
One thing I was thinking about this the other day, they had a demo disc on PlayStation 1 where they had a T-Rex running on screen. Within 6 months of that demo, they had a pretty much equivalent, and it was only playing on the PSP Legend anniversary, whichever anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
That within 6 months, they had a full featured game with a T-Rex of equal graphical capability in it.
Yeah.
You know, And we don't, like you say, we don't see. Although today we see that EA's released like a hair ray tracing demo. That's the sort of thing we would get all the time, and we don't get it anymore.
It'd just be nice to sort of have that bundle with the new console.
So I think we've been on a little rose-tinted journey there.
Yeah.
We've talked about a couple of things, and we're going to go back to these memories as we go forward. But as Tom commented, everything was gathering pace up at Sega Towers, and it was time to dust off the AN2 chip to add some weight and more to the console. This really was arcade perfect, or in some cases better, in your home, as was the case with Soul Calibur, for example. Now, that's a game that actually in the arcade looks great, but in the transition to the Dreamcast hardware, actually got up-resed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that doesn't normally happen even today. So that's pretty fundamental.
That was a game I picked up after getting that initial bundle, because I eventually played those 3 games I got to death. Went and picked up Shenmue 2 to finish the journey of Ryu, for now. And then went and got Soul Calibur. I was really impressed with that, like the 3D movement around it. It was like Tekken, but with sort of melee weapons. And
I just think from the get-go that was quite a slick looking game.
Yeah.
The idea and the whole sort of ethos behind it.
It's gone on to spawn quite a few sequels as well.
Yes, it has.
Popular title.
So, Tom, we find ourselves here on the iconic date of 9/9/99. Here we are in the good old US of A. And a lot of people, seemingly like myself at the time, were looking for something, as we said, edgy and cool. Well, guess what? That cool dude from the 90s is back. Sega. And guess he's looking, for once in a while, it's been a while, he's looking cool again. And as we said before, we'd passed that initial awkward 3D phase and things were starting to refine on the N64, and the PS1 just couldn't cut it. Tom, Pez 3.5 chimes in. He's got a memory here, which I thought was a poignant place to put it. I was pretty young, so it was my brother's. I do remember getting Rayman 2 for it, though, and being amazed at how good the 3D design was compared to the PS1. Now, that's something we need to just... People look back and they see the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
As the Dreamcast rightful place is against the PS2.
Yeah.
And the Xbox original.
Yeah.
But it actually came out in the latter days of the PlayStation 1. And
it's double power.
And honestly, it was like night and day. I had people telling me, it's better on PlayStation than you see the Dreamcast version.
Nonsense.
It made the PlayStation 4 Pro or the Xbox One Vanilla to the Xbox One X argument completely nondescript. This thing was blowing the doors off of the PlayStation. And I think it was only the hardcore fanatics that wouldn't agree that the Dreamcast certainly looked $1 million. So Pez has chimed in there.
Yeah, thanks for that feedback.
So as we mentioned earlier, it's 9/9/99. Launch day, then, Tom. Do you want to go through that mix and tell us what you'd pick up if it was launch day again tomorrow?
So these were the original launch titles. We've got Aero Wings, Air Force Delta, Blue Stinger, which... Just let's quickly go off here. I originally was going to buy a Dreamcast at launch... a shared gift between me and my brother for one of our birthdays, I believe, and that was the title that I was looking at getting. But
Blue Stinger.
Obviously,
to be honest, a game of its time.
Did you ever play it?
I think I played a demo. I think that it's a game of its time from memory, and I should have done a little bit more research on Blue Stinger. But from memory, it's kind of like a Resident Evil game. Fixed camera perspective. You walked around.
I think that's what initially drew me to it. I was like, "Oh, that looks like Resident Evil." But moving on...
Well, you've grown up, so, you know, what's next on that list?
Cart Flag to Flag, Expendable, The House of the Dead 2.
Now, imagine that as a launch title with 2 guns.
Brilliant fun. Like, that is an arcade machine.
In a way, I wish I'd been older when that Dreamcast had launched, because I think I'd have got way more integrated than I did. Yeah. I was like a little toddler at the beach dipping my toe in the water. It was cold, and it was a strange experience, but it was an enjoyable one. And I should have dived in from the start. I shouldn't have just played on the edge.
Absolutely. Hydro Thunder.
Great launch game, that.
Monaco Grand Prix. Mortal Kombat Gold. NFL 2K, NFL Blitz 2000, how do we say that?
Trisalon.
Trisalon. Power Stone, Ready to Rumble Boxing, Sonic Adventure.
That was my
That was
mummy, please may I.
You're only having one.
You're only having one at Sonic Adventure.
Soul Calibur, TNN Motorsports Hardcore Heat, and Tokyo Extreme Racer. And finishing off with Trick Style.
Trick Style.
I mean, that's covering so many genres of games there.
What would
they were really well.
I've said to you, in real life, I took home, or although it was in the launch window, it wasn't on launch, I took home Sonic Adventure.
Yeah.
As a grown-up looking through the lens of those games today, I'd probably get House of the Dead 2, and I'd probably also pick up NFL 2K. As we mentioned before, the spawn of such a great 2K series, and that game was playable online in America.
Yeah.
And I think that helped sell gangbuster numbers. Mm-hmm. It's a shame that, knowing what we know now, and DVDs come and gone, it was like a 10-year fad. Not a fad, it became the norm of the way to consume
VHS
media.
For 10,
and then Blu-ray
15 years.
usurped that, and then 4K, and now we're into streaming and all that jazz. And through the medium of time, the only thing that matters out of all of that is online play.
Yeah.
We ignored it in the Dreamcast because we all needed that DVD player.
Yeah.
And yet, the only thing that's really changed gaming, and not just to bolt on a disc or a way of viewing a movie,
Yeah.
the only thing that's actually changed gaming, more to my chagrin, is online.
Yeah. It's mad. I always forget that it had online capabilities.
You were like Mr. No, I want Gladiator in crystal clear on my 14-inch CRT.
I don't want to play with strangers.
You
from
couldn't
around the
even
world.
comprehend the idea. And now you're in an Overwatch clan. You've got Overwatch tattoos. You've got Overwatch shaved into your hair. You're going to name one of your pets Baptiste. Where does it stop?
We are going to touch shortly on the online
Yeah.
and sort of a few stories from that. But going back to the launch, Gaz Loves Games got in touch.
Good
sharing a
old
story.
Gaz Loves Games over there on YouTube and Insta.
He said he really wished he had a Dreamcast at launch and sees it as an unfulfilled dream.
Well, luckily with the help of this feature, Gaz can go back, purchase a Dreamcast with our unique buying guide, and get on board, have that launch experience.
He definitely should.
All for himself.
He definitely should.
So, here we are. Let's talk the Dreamcast USPs and industry first. And by crikey, this console, it certainly shone a light at the front like a pathfinder. The VMU, for one. Great idea for a memory card that could play simple games on the go. Now, did you know that you could plug two VMUs together to exchange saves, but also in like a Chow Garden game, for instance, you could battle each other in that way?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so, almost you've collected your stuff up, you can mate the two consoles together, the two little VMUs together, and then you can interact with each other through
I
the
just used to, when I picked up that console with a VMU and I played Shenmue and it just had the little Shenmue logo on it, I thought, that's cool. It just makes the controller feel a bit more like...
Wii U style.
Yeah.
Had a screen in the
Yeah.
console in 1999, bring it.
Yep.
So
Breaking
there was
barriers
that.
already.
And I'm going to chime in with a memory here. I remember when I got that little Dreamcast set up and I had Sonic Adventure and I'd got my VMU that I'd traded probably 20 N64 games for. I downloaded a Chow from the Chow Garden, took it to work, Tom. That's right. Took the Chow to work.
It was like a Switch.
Confused everybody. No one knew what it was. And that's a similar story here. Now, Oscar had a Dreamcast and a VMU, and he got in touch just like you should. And he said, I felt like a king when I took my VMU to school and played Chow Adventures. It was a lot of fun, and no one knew what it was. Stoked finding Power Stone 1 and 2, which are still in his top 5 favourite games ever. Nothing quite like them, and they really showcased the DC's power. Then, Crazy Taxi. I mean, come on. Who didn't love Crazy Taxi? Ozcat's got some solid points there. Much
Yeah,
like
thanks
myself.
for, getting in touch
Confusing
again.
the locals with his magic, taking his VMU in. Confusing the medieval
Yeah.
types. What's this gizmo you've
Is
got?
that a Tamagotchi?
Is that a Tamagotchi? Looks very similar to a Tamagotchi. Unfortunately, went through batteries a million times quicker than a Tamagotchi.
What sort of battery? Was it like a watch
CR2032, my friend.
Wow, precise.
Got that tattooed on my eyelids. I also had shares in Duracell at the time because my crikey. You see, now you can get CR2032s in battery packs from Poundland. You get like 1 million batteries for £1. But at the time, the CR2032, at least round my way, was almost like a hen's tooth, a unicorn's tear. These things were like £6 a pop, and they seemed to last no longer than a week. And if you want to utilise that VMU and take the chow to work, I might even blow out your CR2032s in an hour.
Wow.
Brutal.
They didn't learn much from the Game Gear then.
Probably utilising all the technological advances of the Game Gear in the VMU's power department. Tom, you slotted the VMU in the top of it, but tell me about that pad.
Yeah, so we actually had analog triggers on the pad.
Wow.
Which was really cool. I think the first time I realised how good they were was playing Metropolis Street Racer and just feathering that brake round the corner, trying to get that quicker time on the course.
You're going to get me every time with Metropolis Street Racer, dude. I love that game.
I mean, that's gone on to be used in every racing game pretty much, hasn't it? Unless you've got yourself a wheel and then you're just pretty flash.
There's a lot of firsts and things done on the Dreamcast that have found their way across the whole of the gaming pantheon. QTEs.
I seem to remember, so they were using the triggers for Metropolis Street Racer.
Yeah.
Yet over on the PlayStation, you were playing Gran Turismo with still pressing X to go.
I know we were, yeah. Scary, isn't it?
Yeah. So other things I remember about the pad, the lead was a bit short. So
And
I
do you
believe
remember the
you got
way-
a lead extension for yours.
Yeah. Now, here's a modern tip. If you're playing Dreamcast in the modern era,
You're going to want an extension.
we don't play 2 feet away from a 14-inch portable anymore. We sit back 8 foot, 6 foot, whatever it is, on a couch.
Yeah.
So the Dreamcast needs a cable extender to make that experience enjoyable in the modern
It
day.
does, yeah.
You want to use the right pad. I think some of these
It-
wireless options are a bit poop.
It might feel a bit strange to some people picking it up now with just the one analog stick for certain games, but at the
I would
time,
say the
it
games
felt
that
right.
utilised the analog stick and then the sort of the other buttons for movement within the world, aping much like the
Trying to do a
PSP
dual
does, to
analog.
ape a dual analog.
Yeah.
Those games have aged the worst.
Yes.
The games
Yeah.
that utilise what's good about the DC pad have aged the best.
Yeah. I remember the DS having a similar problem of having that, like...
It did. And they brought that little nub out, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking 3DS as well. But yeah, it might
Do
feel
you
a
know
little
the
bit strange
history?
now.
Do you know the history of the pad?
I don't know.
Wind your clock back to the Saturn. Nights into Dreams came out with this
Yeah.
really nice analog. They called it the
Oh,
analog
I do,
3D
yeah.
pad, which,
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes, we didn't know it at the time, was
It's an
basically a
early
black
mock-up.
version
Yeah.
of the Dreamcast pad.
I've seen that in several retro game stores, yeah.
And that kind of filters us down to the Usurper, the one, the only, the ultimate USP of the Sega Dreamcast. As we mentioned before, online, the thing that should have mattered most when we look back through the lens of gaming, because let's face it, if there's one thing that certainly manifested itself across the era of all pantheons of modern gaming, Tom, it has to be that online.
Massive. Really.
So, did you ever...
I didn't hook mine up online because, again, even when I got it, I wasn't playing online games.
The idea of going online was a
Yeah.
little bit alien. That's somewhere
We hadn't
Daddy went,
endorsed
but
that
we
in the
weren't allowed on
360
there, were
era,
we?
wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, let me tell you. There I was. Now, I was a young lad, disposable income, wind in my hair. I had hair. And little old me wanted a piece of this online action. Obviously a rabid devourer of Dreamcast magazine. I'd been force-fed full-on Sega propaganda all the way from the High Tower in Japan. I had devoured it like a Farquhar goose. And now I wanted my Dreamcast online, and the only title to go online with was Phantasy Star Online. I bought it. I raced home. I fumbled around behind the phone, scrabbling at the BT plug, swapping wires, generally confused.
This was back in the day where you'd not have the phone on, though.
That's it.
If you were online.
I'm on dial-up.
So you
Don't call
can't-
me. I'll call you.
Yeah.
I'm busy. So I boot it up. Now I do believe I even bought myself a Dreamcast keyboard. Just to make that communication a little bit easier.
I'm giving him the universal signal of
Tom,
the glasses push up the nose.
A man that's only lived in the era of the headset, I imagine trying to type through the on-screen keyboard, hey, follow me over here, look at this. You might be a while.
Yeah.
You need the keyboard.
Unless
So
you're
you
a
can
typist, you're going to struggle.
drop those eyebrows down. It was a perfectly reasonable thing to pick up. So I get home and, you know, it was... In fact, looking back at it, it might have been my first exposure to the Phantasy Star family. So I was learning as I went.
Yeah.
Great intro, great graphics for the time. And then it was, you create this creature, and I think there was a robot class that I created mine for. Give him a name, D95, I remember it now. And I was thrown out there in the wilds of the internet. Now, I tell you now, when you met people in that game and you typed, "Are you real?" and someone comes back with either emoticon or... And they had emoticons in that game because they knew not many people would have the keyboard. We'd come back with the thumbs up. I can't remember why, but I seem to think the emoticons were chicken-themed.
I think this is the pinnacle of online gaming for you, isn't it? And then you went all old Ben Kenobi
Honestly,
in Tatooine.
Yeah, I don't want to play online anymore. I used to meet up with this guy. Now, I hope he's listening. I really do. Chances are going to be very slim. But if anyone knows anyone that knows this guy, he's an Irish guy. He used to play, and his username in Phantasy Star Online. Now, this, unlike me, this is not something you would normally reveal in polite company. But hey, I'm on a podcast revealing it to the millions of the fans. I used to play with this guy called Nosferatu. Now, no, I've got that wrong. His name was Uta Revson. But it was actually Nosferatu, the Dracula, in reverse.
Oh, okay.
Very cool guy. And me and him went on endless missions, talked for hours till God knows what time in the morning. I had a job. I don't know how I functioned the next day. But, you know, I poured hours into this. Hours and hours and hours. I think I even picked up... It was towards the end of the Dreamcast life, so it's a bit hazy, and I probably didn't play it as much. But I picked up Phantasy Star Online 2 in the UK as well. Great game. And as you say, for me, probably the pinnacle. Probably the pinnacle of online play.
Now, we think the DC is 20 years old and it's dead. Well, no. It's still having games made for it and still being supported, not by Sega, but by a fan community.
That's right. And it's much more over on Instagram and YouTube. Now, he's a big supporter of all things retro. But he's a very big fan of the Dreamcast. And we're going to launch into his comment here, or his questions and thoughts. Yeah. But before we do, I think that as a member of the Unofficial Controller community, if you're sat here and you're scratching your head and you're thinking, how can I get online now and how can I do this, that and the other, don't call us. Reach out to It's Much More on Instagram and YouTube. And he's come in with this. Looking forward to the DC show, guys. Well... Thank you. We hope that it lives up to your high expectations.
Yeah.
Dreamcast is still making memories today. I still have the footage of the final day Sega turned off the F355 challenge servers as I took part in the last race. The message thanked us for the support and then we were all disconnected. Now that's a special moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being there on the close of the F355. He continues to go on to say how he has a letter from Sega saying they would name a character in the House of Dead after him. And goes on to mention the community every Sunday, and that's the Dreamcast community, and this is why I implore you to get in touch with them if you want to revive your love for the Dreamcast. Gets together every Sunday, 8 PM, to game online, and get in touch with them on Insta to find out more.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, very, very
Thanks
cool.
for that.
The fact that games are still being made for
about
it.
that.
Yeah, the fact that games are still being made for it is amazing. The fact that you can still go online with Phantasy Star Online if you are so passionately involved, I think there's a couple of solutions. Either you buy the broadband adapter, which is the aforementioned Unicorn's Tears, Or you can go down like a Raspberry Pi route, which sounds way more technological than I can deal with. But It's Much More was willing to talk me through the process. So I'm sure he'll be willing to talk you through the process too.
Yeah.
So we've reached that point again, Tom. You're at a cocktail party and the guy there says he loves Dreamcast. Well, really?
Yeah.
Let's give you our top 5 and some honourable mentions to make sure you can hold your head above water at that cocktail party. Tom, you got one throw in the bucket. What are you chucking in?
We're going to do this as a wanna because it's kind of...
I see.
It's kind of like a
doing
book,
here.
isn't it? Shenmue 1 and 2, what can you say? Developed by Sega and Yu Suzuki, released 99 and 2001 respectively. We've touched on these in our top 10 games.
We
of all time,
have.
haven't
I mean,
we?
let's just take a couple minutes. At the time, it was like nothing else you'd ever seen. The level of interactivity in the game, the ability to speak to all those people, the sort of the story, which has elements of fantasy in it, but not on initial first run.
Yeah,
set in
it slowly
1980s
builds it
Japan.
up, doesn't it?
You get home one day, find the gate kicked in. Don't you? Strange.
The
What's
bigger
this?
boys have been round and
Bigger boys been round in the black
Killed your
car.
dad.
Well, you don't know. You bimble into the dojo. You see Daddy there with a guy in a dress with a dragon on it, not looking too happy with each other.
no.
You bimble in. Awkward moment. A little bit like Hot Rod in the Transformers. You get held hostage while your dad gets throat punched to death. The mirror.
Brutal.
The mirror is taken.
You did not get experiences like that on the N64.
That is a quality reason why I left Perfect Dark standing there in the sun. I wasn't interested. I had Shenmue. So we don't want to.
The second one came out, and I do remember my mate picking it up, who was a big Dreamcast fan, and him saying it's all in Japanese. So they didn't have English dubbed voices.
But we were lucky enough to get it. They didn't get to. They didn't get to in America.
Did they not?
No, nothing. If they wanted to play it, they had to get a copy of the European version and then do the whole lid trick to make it work. Next in that list, Tom, because I think people know full well about Shenmue, but here's a title we've talked about on the show before, but one that's probably slipped under their radar: Metropolis Street Racer by Bizarre Creations, released 3rd of November 2000. Once again, like an eager puppy, I was there at launch.
You must have picked that up because you came round to mine for fireworks night, didn't you?
With it?
Bonfire night in this.
Or was I telling you about
You
it?
were telling me all about it, and that I should get a Dreamcast and the real-time clock. And,
Oh God,
yeah.
Tom. Even now, when I sit
no,
down
I
and
like
play
playing
it,
as Link.
it's bigger boys games.
Yes.
Even now, when I sit down and play it, I always remember that feeling of. I know you weren't driving around London in the car,
But you
right?
felt
But
like
you'd
you
never had a game before where you felt like you were playing through a device and remotely controlling something in that place. That's how it felt. We'd never had an in-game clock before. We'd certainly not had one that utilised, the whole 24-hour date time format to enable you to be different time in San Francisco to Tokyo to London. The in-game radio, the almost arcade handling of the cars where it wasn't. It touched
it
towards
was a bit more
sim.
forgiving, wasn't it?
It did.
When you compared it to Gran Turismo.
Exactly, but it was deep enough where you could get really nuanced with it, and you could be doing time trials with a friend and battling off 0.1 of a second to improve. So
That's what I mean. I think, that spawned our sort of love for Bizarre Creations racing games.
Definitely.
Still to this day.
It rolled
with,
us into Project Gotham, and then all the way
Yeah.
until that franchise got kicked to death.
Yeah.
We've talked about it earlier in the show, but Soul Calibur.
Developed by Namco and Project Soul. That was released in 98. Obviously a launch title.
Great arcade game, great launch title.
Yeah, I still play that occasionally to this day.
Next up is the second game I ever owned on Dreamcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Crazy Taxi. Developed by Sega and released February 1999. I actually believe that I kind of got through January and was like, Sonic Adventures, this it? Have I traded all those games? And then lands on the doorstep, official Dreamcast magazine. Crazy Taxi. Oh my goodness, what's this? I couldn't get it bought quick enough, could I? That game at the time, think about it, we were miles away from Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yeah.
At that point, there was a game where you could drive around a whole city with traffic, with buildings, with people, way before That game was incredible. The music, yeah.
Offspring.
And
Really good.
You know, the way you interacted in the town, the fun of it, the Sega Blue Skies, everything about that game. And
it really popped off screen, didn't it?
It was so fresh to see it. And the textures, we'd been used to seeing like simple coloured textures on N64 and PlayStation. All of a sudden, this thing was literally alive. There was no need to hide, much like the 360 and PS3 did a lot of brown graphics.
Yeah.
I think the PlayStation one's quite guilty of doing some very grey, black and brown graphics. As soon as the Dreamcast popped, boom, there was colour everywhere.
I think that goes to say a lot about Sega in general, about you can tell a Sega game. I don't know whether that holds true today, but you look at...
Well, they've moved a country mile away from the kind of games they were doing. They're not arcade-based anymore, but if they were doing arcade ports, they'd have a Blue Sky in it, wouldn't it? It would. So that's Soul Calibur. We've talked Crazy Taxi. We've already talked Sonic Adventure. I think I've probably already cried a river over that. Honourable mentions, Tom. Do you want to chuck some out?
Yeah, so we've got Skies of Arcadia.
Yeah, great game. Can't say enough about that.
I didn't own that one myself, but you did. And
did you play it on Cube?
No, I didn't. I think my brother played it through on Cube and said it was really good.
Fantastic game. Virtua Tennis.
Now this was, I suppose, one of my launch titles, but it wasn't the first time I played it. So on a holiday to Spain, we walked into this arcade, and there's Virtual Tennis, and I remember our cousin getting very hooked on this game and saying he was going to take Tim Henman all the way to the final at Wimbledon.
I bet he did, didn't he?
And putting the coins in, I think he managed to pull that off. And then we played a few
Well
two-player games, and it was just so... It was like Pong, but
I tell you what, when that guy sets his mind to something, cousin, he pulls it through.
He does.
I'm taking Tim Henman all the way. He only did it.
He did.
He went and did it.
So I was quite surprised and, pleasantly surprised to see it on the Dreamcast, and thought, well, I'll definitely pick that up. It's like having it at home.
Yeah.
And
well, once again,
putting the pennies in.
The sort of downgrade from the arcade to the Dreamcast was minimal, if at all.
Yeah.
So Virtual Tennis,
we got?
18-wheeler, again a variation on the Crazy Taxi theme, but I actually think it plays out.
So was it a case of getting from point A to B to get the delivery done? Or?
Yeah, that's right. And a little bit like Outrun, if you didn't have enough time because you didn't hit the checkpoints, you didn't ground to a halt before you could get all the way. That looks great. There's lots of like swinging bits. I think there's a bit where a tornado cuts through Midwest America.
Oh, right, cool.
You sort of dodge around that. There's just some really cool sections, and you go basically from one side of America to another with a truck hauling different loads. Very cool. I think if I remember rightly, when you're on the interior view, there's like a swinging air freshener and things on the dash that sort of slide about. Again, we'd never seen anything like that at the time.
Yeah, nice details.
We touched on them before. Ozcat did, certainly. Power Stone 1 and 2. Again,
so were these like a Super Smash Brothers?
It'd be right up your street. It's exactly what it was like.
Okay.
I think Power Stone 1 for me had the better multiplayer. Power Stone 2 did introduce 2 other characters, so you could have 4-way. But much like I find with Smash now, there's way too much going on the screen when there's 4. It's absolute chaos.
It is difficult sometimes.
And in Power Stone, you've got weapons, there's throwables, there's actual attacks that you can do on each other. When there's 4 people in a multi-layered isometric level.
I think with those sorts of games, going back to Smash, the best times I've had with them are with a bigger group of people, but you're each battling 1v1, and then it's pass on to the winner. Yeah. Whereas the 4x4, the 4-way battles are just a bit
sort
crazy.
Of had that family fun environment more than 2. Although 2 could entertain more kids on the console.
Yeah.
It was that whole chaos thing again.
We mustn't forget...
What?
4 controller ports.
4 controller ports. Right on the front, the slap bang wall of all consoles. In, out, got 4 players.
So following on from the N64...
how can you be a multiplayer machine without 4 ports on the front?
Exactly.
House of the Dead 2, a great arcade shooter, and one that I played the wheels off on Dreamcast.
Another arcade game converted for console. Fantastic.
Sega Bass Fishing. I don't know if you had that, but I did. I had the unofficial controller, because I don't think there was an official controller launched in the UK. I had the Mad Cats, and it was a pretty good rod, but it had this unique feature where when you had a fish
Turbo reel?
Kind of. it bent the rod a little bit.
Okay.
It had a little motor that pulled down to bend the rod when you had a fish on.
Ultra realism.
Since then, I've acquired the more traditional unofficial controller. That game still plays great. You can also use the controller in Soul Calibur if you waggle it. But that's one for the fanboys. And one to finish off with, and before we do, just a couple accessories for the Dreamcast. I think you can get a camera from memory, and I also think you can get a microphone, which works perfectly with the next game, which didn't get a UK PAL release, but you can get it now reprinted or re-imaged in PAL. Seaman. That wasn't a misstep, and it wasn't a sailor's reference from Shenmue. It's the name of a very strange-looking fish that Sega
with
decided
like a human head.
to develop with a human head that you build a relationship with over a period of time. It's a game that intrigued me at the time. Technological advances and all that made me go, oh, wow.
It's like owning real life, virtual sea monkeys, maybe.
I don't know. Seaman could be very mysterious.
Oh, okay.
A very strange
That was a game for the bigger boys when I was playing.
We've talked about the games that you want. We've talked about the console. Pick up the console. Pick up the games that we mentioned. If you've got a little bit of money left over from Mumsy, grab a couple of those honourable mentions. Also grab a VMU, a Rumble Pack. We'd recommend to use at least an RGB SCART cable, although obviously this thing's playable through RF, which is straight out the box. It doesn't cost that much money. I use an RGB SCART for mine, although I've recently upgraded my TV, so I now need to get myself a SCART to HDMI adapter, or possibly go down that other route. And I say that because there's quite a few breakout boxes that go from VGA, then VGA to HDMI, or there's some sort of solder boards that you can put in the Dreamcast to go HDMI on the way out. Good thing about the Dreamcast, guys, and what makes it a joy to play in this modern age, is out the box it was 480p. Once again, Tom.
That's
Sega,
equivalent to the Wii.
It is equivalent to the Wii. They've got their hand to their forehead. They're looking forward into the future. The only people that aren't doing it? The rest of the universe. Let me put it to you, Tom. The Dreamcast, it's at the big table, round the hors d'oeuvres, with Alan Wake. We don't understand it, but it had an intelligent and interesting take on the sixth generation of gaming.
Yeah.
We need to just... Do we recommend this game, this console? Wholeheartedly, I would say.
Absolutely.
You need to play
It is the
this.
forward-thinking console. You'll look at so many features there and not even realise they were the first to do that.
Absolutely. And some of those games, which fortunately, if you don't want to go down the route of wrapping yourself up in a Dreamcast, bar Metropolis Street Racer, I would say most of those have been available on other consoles since. Tom, on the last history feature, we did the N64. We've done the Dreamcast. Next time we do a retrospective, we're going to throw these names up on a leaderboard. The ultimate retro console. Are you looking forward to that ding-dong round, Tom?
I am. Yeah, we're interested in making like a bit of a ranking system for all these history ofs that we're going to do.
Yeah. I think once we've done 10 history ofs, we could maybe have a ranking of episode.
Yeah.
And we could slug it out to define their place on our leaderboard, ranging from the depths of the layer pit to the upper echelons of, I don't know, Mumsy's favourite shelf, where she puts all our best drawings. Tom, the big man's been making house calls again. He's topped up. He's been around more M1 service stations this week than a lorry driver with a penchant for an overnight stay. No questions asked.
He has. So,
where's his first visit took him to? Oh my goodness gracious me. Ozcat, I know everyone has 3 mortgages these days, but you need to steady on. He's gone and picked himself up what looks like a copy of Mario Kart 8 for the Switch. I see he's also got All-Star Fruit Racing, and he's swung in and got himself a copy of Team Sonic Racing.
Yeah, the new release. It's not meant to be bad, actually. Sort of very similar to Mario Kart, but obviously with the Sonic cast of characters. And he's currently at 98 Switch titles.
Holy hell, Ozcat. You know,
Wow.
at any point in time you can slow down
Great
and
collection.
eat. He
Great
can
collect-
eat, can't he? Surely food's an option for Ozcat. No. Got to get another game, George. You don't understand. I've got to be on listener Stingray. Bite my pixel.
Yeah, they've got themselves a Big Bang Theory Lego set.
Now, what we must say is, listeners Stingray, if you want to join us on this expedition, Tom, they need to head over to Instagram. They need to go into the search tags function, hashtag Stingrays boot. Not only can you browse through with us as we are right now, but, listener, next time you get a pickup, snap a picture of it.
Yeah.
Slap it on Instagram, tag hashtag Stingrays boot. Let us know the big man's come a-calling, and we'll give them a shout-out. Tom, Bite My Pixels picked up some stuff.
Yeah.
He's had a good day out.
Got some Mario and Sonic plush in there as well.
He has. I always find the Mario plushies look like they're not genuine, even when they are.
They look like they've come off those crane grab machines at
They
the
do.
seaside.
The ones at Cleethorpes that it's not Mario, you know it's not. It's his deformed cousin they keep in the cellar.
So, they've got a selection of PlayStation 2, a
SSX3.
couple of PS3 games in there, a PlayStation 1 game.
They got Blur as well, talking about Bizarre Creations. Was that their last game?
It might have been.
Yeah, neatly segued. See what I did? Encyclopedic knowledge of games. Got a copy of Exhumed as well.
They've got original
Egyptian
Metal Gear
Doom.
Solid.
Mace Griffin Bounty Hunter.
We've got the original Tomb Raider, Hitman Blood Money, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
I tell you what, you know Ozcat gone and grabbed himself a copy of Team Sonic Racing.
Someone else has.
Retro Gamer Thomas.
He's picked it up on PS4 though.
Oh, well, is the cross-platform play?
That'd be interesting to know. Sony.
Well, why don't
Sony down with
Ozcat
that.
and Retro Gamer Thomas let us know if that's feasible?
Yeah.
Retro Gamer Thomas. He's been and put himself a copy of Days Gone, and to cool off, he's slugging her beer ski. Steve Weister.
Out of a Pac-Man glass.
Yeah, one of those iced glasses as well. That's very cool.
Retro Dude 88. He's been picking up on a bit of a Game Boy spree and DS.
He's got more Game Boys there than he's got fingers.
He has, yeah. We've got some Game Boy Colors, Game Boy Advance, original Game Boy.
Good job. I tell you what, good job Retro Dude 88's from Florida, because you couldn't say that to someone from our fine county, could you?
No, you could not.
He's got more fingers than games.
We've got Welsh Game Hunter. He's picked himself up a PlayStation Classic, which I believe is £30 at the moment.
That's cheap.
£30 in Argos.
That is cheap.
So yeah, well worth picking up, I think, for that price. He's got Mega Games 1 on the Sega Mega Drive. I always remember that being good. It's a good selection.
He's got Corporation as well. I don't think that'll have aged well, but at the time that was I had a demo for that on Atari ST. It was a very.
He's got himself a few Blu-rays there.
He has. I'll tell you what.
And Lethal Weapon.
He's. I tell you, they're classic Stingrays boot titles. Hook,
yeah,
Ghost Rider, and Lethal Weapon. Hey, I've also
a great night of viewing lined up there.
He's also got Black Luke from Return of the Jedi, and he's got himself Empire Strikes Back Hoth Han, the Kenner originals. Welsh Game Hunter. Pretty good pickup she got there, my friend.
We've got Daddy Zilla 80. He's
not Radadad Gamer.
No.
Apologies, Radadad. What did I call him? Radadadadad.
Yeah.
He's actually called
Rad Dad Game.
Rad Dad Gamer. You see, you say it slow, it makes sense.
It
when
does.
I see it on the paper, it's Radadadadada Gamer.
So we've got Daddy Zilla 80. He's cooking up some games and consoles on top of the cooker there.
He's got them on the cooker.
Yeah, be
Looks
careful.
like
Make sure that mains plug isn't on.
Well, make sure his kid's head's further away from it. You don't want to fry the back of his kid's skull.
Yep. He's got a
Hello
GameCube.
to you, young man, if you're listening in with Daddy
Yeah.
Zilla, who presumably is your daddy, a.k.a. the name.
He's got a GameCube, selection of some SNES games there as well. N64. There's a very unofficial looking controller in there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we like the look of that. We love that sort of stuff. Who else we got, George?
Oh, Tom, let's not forget the show's stepfather, as we've now adopted him to be, Chris McClum. He's out there in the wilds, ferreting around like a bloodhound for retro, his nose pressed to the floor, his missus pulling at his shirt, trying to hold him back when he's hunting around the charity shops and the boot sales, knocking people out of the way with his tail wagging like an eager dog. He's got himself a games station, a games organisation device by the mighty Logic 3. Now,
We
I
are
happen,
fans of Logic 3.
Yes, well, I happen to follow Chris, and I do believe I've also seen he already owns another game station, so he's got the most organised game station area you could possibly imagine. Need a draw for your games? Get the game station by Logic 3.
He's also got himself a Technics cassette deck as well there.
This guy, he's living at the absolute upper end of audio quality. Chris McClum lives.
If digital technology ever goes down, he's the man to go see.
Dolby Digital metal correction tape facility available here. Chris McClum.
I'll chuck this out there. Rad Dad Gamer UK, because that's how we say it.
Okay.
He's picked up Clay Fighter on the SNES. That's great. Some great artwork on that box.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then we'll just quickly fire through. Sharaban's seemingly collected every Gran Turismo variant you could possibly imagine. He's also got himself a really cool Tetris clock, where the numbers fall down and make the squares fall down and make the numbers, and various Tetris games. Daddy Zilla 80 has picked up some PlayStation games, Rocksmith on the 360,
NBA on the N64,
SpongeBob Plush, the Barber Who games. Presumably that's the man who cuts hair and plays video games. Hopefully, listeners not at the same time, but maybe if he does them both and performs them to a high standard, that would be something to witness. He's got himself a copy of Ogre Battle 64, obviously on the N64, Silent Hill 3 on the PlayStation 2, good pickup. In lieu of Mario Maker, he's gone and got himself a rather shaky-looking copy of RPG Maker 3 on the PlayStation 2 by Stingray Studios. A couple more Silent Hill bits and bobs. Well done to him for ratcheting up there and going full Silent Hill. And a new pickup for Generation Collector. He's got himself an early DS there. And I suppose one last shout-out for Sharaban as we shuffle towards our own new release highlights. He's seemingly got 1,000 followers, and he's arranged his Neo Geo kart pickup boxes in the shape of the number 1, in the shape of the letter K.
That's cool, isn't it?
Very cool.
Congrats on getting to 1,000 followers as well.
Can't thank him enough.
Good job.
He's been very good for us out there in the world of things. Tom, get your head down. I've heard a rustle. Now, Stingray, angry from the loss of his girlfriend to Brian, the night barman at the Wagon and Horses.
Sneaky Brian.
He's furious.
We don't like him, do we?
His faux orange traffic light air freshener fell down, heading over at high speed the level crossing near the back of the village. He's furious, and that anger is directed at the drive. He tears, Tom. He tears clean up the drive. Pebbles everywhere. He pulls to a stop. Out the door. Boot pop. Tom, make sure you put on some hypodermic gloves. Stingray's looking angry. You don't want skin-on-skin contact with the big man.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I heard even Ross Kemp's scared of him.
Ross Kemp won't look him in the eye.
He won't.
He knows this. Much like a snake, Ross Kemp's got that inbuilt reptile brain. He just knows not to mess with Stingray. He's got that wild thousand-dial stare, and Stingray's got those strange blue eyes, you know, like a wild dog.
Yeah.
That just makes you a little cautious.
Yeah.
With his blonde mullet and Paul Calf-like moustache. Stingray's not a guy you want to mess with. He's the sort of guy, if you challenge him to throw a shoe over a pub,
he will.
He'd lodge it in the pub in the next village. Time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingray's boot. What's nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battle for Endor this week? Did it again. 2 in the bag. So these are the new release highlights for the week May 20th to May the 26th, 2019. Listeners, these are out in digital or physical, or will be by the time this podcast is in your region, but could be in your feed, but could be region dependent. You see, I'm always going to fall somewhere. Beginning, middle, or end.
That's a lot of reading.
Listeners, have a little straw poll. When, where, and how do I fall over my lips? Luckily through the.
Do you want me to take the first releases to give you a moment to recover?
So I can reattach my
Yes.
face? Yes, certainly do.
So we've got American. I'm straight away on it.
American Fugitive, PC, PS4, May 21st, stumbling out on Switch, May 23rd, and as always, rumbling, for no apparent reason, last onto the Xbox, May 24th.
So American Fugitive.
Can we just say, let's announce it here, Tom, got to interrupt you, exclusive.
Exclusive. A couple of days exclusive for the PC and PS4 there. American Fugitive is a modern take on a classic sandbox action offering a new 3D top-down open-world single-player experience. Welcome to Red Rock County, a sleepy American town with a booming criminal underbelly. You took the role of Will Riley, no angel for sure, but not a killer, yet the cold-blooded murderer of your dad is the crime they locked you up for. Fueled by grief and a burning desire for vengeance, you'll bust out of jail intent on finding the real culprit. Once outside, you'll need to blend with the townsfolk to avoid recapture, establish contact with the criminal underworld, and stay one step ahead of the police dragnet. Set in the deep south of the 1980s, American Fugitive is a love letter to the classic movies and games of old. That reads really well.
Do you know what?
I
think that game looks really great. I need to check out some reviews.
Yeah,
I've seen a couple of
I might
gameplay
look at some
trials.
footage of that. That sounds really good.
Okay, well, I've got something else coming up that's going to be my mummy. Do you want that to be your mummy, or are you saving yourself for something else?
Let's have a look. Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay, so that was Tommy. That was Tommy. That was Mummy. That was Tom's.
You've been on the Tommy Tippy Cup too much this week.
I'll tell you what, I don't know what it's been filled with, but it makes me feel very strange. Next up,
It's working.
Assassin's. It's Jesus juice. Assassin's Creed 3 remastered on the Switch, plus Assassin's Creed Liberation remastered May 21st. Rejoin the Animus, this time on Switch. Journey back in time to the dawn of America, this time remastered for the Nintendo console. I'm going to take this second one as well, because this is going to be my mummy. Seeing as you hoist me up the flagpole, me hearty, as the PSVR captain of the ship. Everybody's Golf VR PSVR May 21st. Mummy, this is my mummy. I'm down here on one-legged. I don't know how the hell I'm going to play a virtual reality golf game, but I shall give it my best go. Tee up your perfect shot on the luscious greens of Everybody's Golf with a PlayStation Move motion controller or DualShock 4 wireless controller acting as club. Even golfing newcomers can start playing with ease, and with PSVR headset you can see each of the 18 holes across 3 new courses in a full 360 degrees. To take measure of the uneven terrain and read the wind direction. Need a little practice? Give your putting a little polish and master your tee off at the driving range. And a helping hand is ready to make sure your fairway skills are up to par with your very own customisable virtual caddy offering hints and tips. Tom, next to the complete box set of Howard's Way, the story of the Howard family's long-serving boatyard on the Isle of Wight, brush that to one side. We don't want that. That's mummy's mummy. But does mummy need to ask grandmummy for permission to take that home?
I don't think so.
I've got a spare bit of pocket money. I'm going to get it for her.
That's nice, yeah.
Maybe
you'll get wheeled upstairs later.
What I'm hoping is you and her are going to get
big TV.
Yeah, I'm hoping she's going to sit down and go, do you know what, Tom? Let's do the whole series. It's 4 years worth. I'm hoping by the time I can walk again, you won't have played any of the new games, and we'll be pound for pound the same.
Everybody's Golf VR was shown briefly in the first state of play.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that looks cool. I think that'd be good fun.
Out soon. I mean, I'm probably saving myself, in all honesty, for Blood and Truth. But Everybody's Golf VR, I'll have a nibble on that.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Observation on PC and PS4 May 21st.
Ooh.
Observation is a sci-fi thriller uncovering what happened to Dr. Emma Fisher and the crew of her mission.
We like the look of this one, Tom, don't
We do, yeah. It looks. It's been getting some good scores as well. Through the lens of the station's artificial intelligence, SAM, S-A-M, players assume the role of Sam by operating the station's control systems, cameras and tools to assist Emma in discovering what is happening to the station. The vanished crew and Sam himself.
Seen some trails for that again.
Yeah.
Looks a very interesting game. Very Space 2001.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what they're going for. Next up, Resident Evil Remake plus Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 4 on the Switch May 21st. Enjoy the scares all over again in a triple drop of undead fun over on Switch. With updated visuals, this really is a feast for all fans and a great way to experience these games on the go. Now, they're all individual titles and we must stress that. Same with Assassin's Creed 3.
It's not a bundle.
Just because they're coming out on the same day. They're not a bundle, unfortunately, but what a great place to own the remake, the prequel, and 4.
Yeah, I mean, 4's been out on pretty much everything, but it's
I've
still
even got
a
it on the
game.
front screen in the laundry room. I do believe there's a copy of Resident Evil 4 for the Hotpoint washing machine's menu screen. So that's playable on there as well.
Excellent.
Angry Birds, all the ports.
We've got Team Sonic Racing, which we saw in Stingray's pickups,
Yes.
in the Stingray's boot.
People had already gone.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Stingray must have burnt off a few extra copies of Team Sonic Racing this
did.
week. He must be the most popular.
Well, he was trying to push Team Sonic Racing, but it didn't quite... It wasn't
No.
as well received,
I
was it?
heard he contacted the creator of
I
Sonic.
think IGN gave it a 2.5 out of 10.
I've played worse.
We have. They're in the pit round the back of the bunker.
I've bought worse. I've bought special editions of worse.
Team Sonic Racing combines the best elements of arcade and fast-paced competitive style racing as you face off with friends in intense multiplayer racing. That's out for PC, PS4, Xbox and Switch on May the 21st.
Tom, pass me the cheap can of compressed air. It's time to give the green screen a quick blowout because guess what's coming down May 23rd for PC? Total War 3 Kingdoms. Total War 3 Kingdoms is the first in the award-winning series to create epic conflict across ancient China, combining a gripping turn-based campaign of empire building and conquest with stunning real-time battles. PC, May 23rd.
That's another game I think I'd really like to pick up if I had a game in PC.
I think if you had a game in PC, you would only own...
I've seen people put Lord of the
RTSs.
Rings mods on those games as well. Even better.
Moving on, Tom, please, swiftly. My misery, put me out of it. Plunge me on the sword. What are you hoping to play?
Ooh, that's a good question. I want to finish Days Gone. It's getting to the point now where I need to put a bit more time into it and get that finished.
Okay. Jealous.
Yeah. Carry on with New Game Plus on God of War, and hopefully convince you to try Red Dead Online again.
Okay, well, if I ever get out of the med bay, and it's not looking likely at this point in time, probably going to wake up with sepsis tomorrow or something like that. But I suppose I'll carry on putting myself through Extras on UMD on the PSP.
Great series.
Welcome to 2006. So I'll be watching Extras on UMD on the PSP, cutting edge. And I'll probably also be playing Tomb Raider Anniversary, because Legend didn't feel very great on the PSP.
It's not a bad life,
I've got
is
the
it,
charger for the Vita now, so I can probably rustle up some Kiwami 1. And actually, because I've got it downloaded, I don't need to put the disc in the console. I may even slug out a round of MLB or two after I got unceremoniously chucked out the World Series in the final. Just wasn't quite good enough. And talking of not being quite good enough, Tom, we're not quite good enough to reach the end of the show. So that's, I'm afraid, all we've got time for.
It is.
And as always, thank you for listening this week, listeners. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy gaming, and remember there's nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. See you, Tom.
Cheers, man.